Hi, you guys. I just wanted to talk to you about this prompt. This has turned out to be the most difficult prompt that we've had this year on a poem. And so I will read through the passage and then I will make some comments on what went wrong and why many people didn't get very good scores on this essay. And of course, we will have our revising and revision process in place. So the directions are read the poem carefully, then, in taking into consideration the title of the poem, analyze how the poetic devices convey the speaker's attitude toward the sinking ship. And so it has to be the attitude towards the sinking of the ship. So the convergence of the Twain. Twain means two. And here we are. So this is lines on the loss of the Titanic. And unfortunately, I think this word loss sort of colored some people's responses and interpretations, but I'll go over that soon. So, in a solitude of the sea, deep from human vanity and the pride of life that planned her, stilly couches she. So, in the ship is already sunk, and it's deep from human vanity. And vanity means excessive pride in one's appearance or accomplishments, and that was key for this poem. And so this ship is couched at the bottom of the ocean. And then this is description. These next three are descriptions of the boat that is now sunk. Steel chambers, lately the pyres, used to be the prize of her salamandrine fires. I think this is supposed to be pyres, Pyre. Cold currents thrid and turn to rhythmic tidal lyres. So her once powerful boilers are now ruins because now there's cold water blowing through them. And salamandrine means that the fires were never supposed to go out, but they have. Over the mirrors meant to glass the opulent. So mirrors that meant to reflect the opulent people, because that's what mirrors do, is they reflect. The sea worms crawl, grotesque, slimed, dumb, indifferent. So this beautiful boat that was meant to sort of showcase the appearances of the wealthy in the mirrors is now just food for the worms that do not care. And jewels in joy, designed to ravish the sensuous mind. Sensuous is sort of like, uh, the living for pleasure. Lie lightless, all their sparkles bleared and black and blind. So jewels, uh, opulent mirrors and power up here are all in ruins. And it implies that people on this boat were sort of into pleasure, into decadence, and that they were arrogant, I guess, and vain. And then here comes the sort of transitional stanza. So dim moon-eyed fishes near gave at the gilded, which is like overladen gold or lined with gold, gave at the gilded gear and query, what does this vainglorious down here? What is this vaingloriousness down here for? So this is a condemnation, folks, of arrogance, of making a ship that was unsinkable, of making it so luxurious, and of being so proud of that achievement and thinking that it was unsinkable. And this fish is like, what is this big, basically mark of human vanity and pride doing down here at the bottom of the ocean? And so here we get the answer. Well, while was fashioning this creature of cleaving wing, the imminent will that stirs and urges everything. Now, the fashioning of this creature of cleaving wing, so I'm thinking that is the boat. I am not sure if the cleaving, because cleaving means to cut in two, and I know the way that the boat sank is it sort of one end sunk under the water because that's where the hole was, and then it broke in half. And I don't know if they're saying that has sort of cleaving wings. I'm honestly not real sure, but that's what I picture in my mind. And then the imminent will that stirs and urges everything, that could be God, that could be some sort of power of the universe that's in charge of fates. But anyway, going on, whatever that is, it prepared a sinister mate for her, so gaily great, a shape of ice, for the time far and disassociate. So while humans were fashioning this sort of gaudy, decadent ship for rich folk, nature was fashioning a mate for her in the form of the iceberg. And as the smart ship grew, smart is like really fashionable, and I still think this is condemnation of human vanity here. And as the ship grew in stature, grace, and hue, and shadowy silence grew the iceberg too. So while man is building himself up and puffing himself up with his great accomplishment, nature has something in store for him. Alien they seem to be, which would be the iceberg and the ship, no mortal eye could see the intimate welding of their later history. So, and a lot of you said, well, that meant that their meeting was inevitable. And I think that that's true. But I think that some of you left out the fact that men's arrogance and vanity brought on this deserved ruin. And so it wasn't just, some of you said nobody could see it, nobody could prevent it, but I disagree. I think that Hardy is saying that men's arrogance, pride goeth before a fall kind of idea, brought on this disaster. So it wasn't like just destined and with no reason. It was because it was a judgment that this came upon them. And so, or sign that they were bent by paths coincident on being anon twin halves of one August event. So there, again, you have these twin halves, one half being the boat and the other half being the iceberg. So they're having this marriage. It's kind of sick, sort of consummation. And here comes the consummation, which of course means the mating process. And so it says, now till the spinner of the years, which could be God, it could be some other universal force, said now. And each one hears, and consummation comes, and jars two hemispheres. So when you consummate a marriage, it means you mate or have sex. And so this is sort of a sick, to me, it's kind of a sick way of saying that this is what fate had in store for the boat because of the arrogance. And personally, I think this poem is in poor taste because it doesn't take into account the victims or the people that died that didn't really have anything to do with the making of the ship. I think Hardy sort of lumps those passengers in with, because they were probably the rich, decadent folk who love rich, decadent things and were prideful and vain. And I think what really hurt people with this is you came in thinking about what a tragic event the sinking of the Titanic is, and you expected the poem to sort of honor that tragedy and the loss of life. And even this note sort of mentions that, all these people died. And so I can see why you tried to read into this a tone of remorse and sadness, and commemorating of this loss of life. But unfortunately, that is not what this speaker has said. Basically, he says that, that human vanity caused this event, and it's sort of an I told you so, which is, I think, kind of a nasty thing to do, especially since he would have written this poem the year that the Titanic actually sunk. But when the directions ask, what is the speaker's attitude about the sinking of the ship? If you said he was sad or shocked or dismayed, then you were off base, unfortunately. He's condemning human vanity and basically blaming people's pride and arrogance on causing this deserved fate. And so there wasn't any wiggle room with that, and that's why a lot of you got 5s. But I will definitely go over in class how to fix this. All right, thank you very much.